Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Roberta Waite. I'll be conducting today's webinar to talk about smart room solutions from Yealink. First of all, I just wanted to make sure, can you all hear me? Thank you. Wonderful. Great to get some feedback there. All right, let me just get started with my presentation. I'm just going to get this working. Just move it over and okay. Can everybody see my presentation? Okay. Can you see that now? Excellent. Got you all on your toes. Well done. All right, I'm just going to go to the start and here we go. Thank you so much for joining me today. We've been doing a series on focusing on meeting room solutions, particularly from Yealink. We've also going to be running some training sessions coming up from Microsoft so that it's not just about the hardware, but also the Teams room, setting up the Teams room correctly in tenants and stuff like that. So let me just get started now. If you've got any questions, please do just pop them into the chat as we go during the session. I'll try and stop and answer at the same time and allow time for any questions or discussions. All right, so just a quick brief overview of Yealink. Yealink is a very well-known brand in the IT and the VoIP space, in the communications space. Half the company, of which is about 2,000 employees, are involved in R&D. And they've been growing very, very strongly in the VoIP space and now in the video conferencing and headset space as well. So globally, number one in SIP handset attachment, and in the MDR space in the last, or this year, they're number two in terms of number of attachments to Teams rooms as an endpoint through the APAC region. So really getting a lot of gains in terms of being implemented. About one in every 500 people on Earth owns a Yealink product. So that's how prevalent they are globally and how well known a brand they are. And 80% of service providers actually use the Yealink brand for their handsets. In terms of their security, just to get this out the way, because we know that their country of origin sometimes presents a question mark for people in communications. They are very vetted, so they allow themselves to be scrutinised at all levels. So the board members at a higher level, the company itself, the origin of where they they source their components, their manufacturing process, where they store any data and what happens to that data, etc. So at all levels, they've got third parties scrutinising how they conduct the security and what information passes through their products and where that is stored. So obviously under a Teams room environment, they're actually under the banner of Microsoft Security, which means that it is absolutely safe. In Australia, we're getting a lot of traction now in state government, local government, enterprise, and right across the board. So it is a brand that is starting to get a lot of traction in areas where previously there was a question mark over, this aspect of them as a company. And of course, the beauty of Yealink is that no matter what space you're trying to have a meeting from, they've got a device that can fit in that space, all the way from a small huddle space to a private desktop, medium size, large boardrooms, and then your large training rooms and multifunction rooms, which we would call traditionally a town hall scenario, where you can turn it into, say, for instance, 2 rooms into 1, or mix and match the purpose of the rooms. So a lot of solutions from end to end available from Yealink. The roadmap this year, as you can see on the top, we've got all of the Windows devices. There's a range of Android-based devices as well, and they tend to be a little bit simpler in terms of, what they provide in the simplicity, the less cables, the less devices that are there. And then there's also a lot more going on in their pro audio accessories. That's where a lot of their new development is going to be happening over the next bit of time, and personal devices as well, such as headsets. And there's also the room IoT, a lot of development going around the room scheduling panel and the occupancy sensor, which is actually going to be a room sensor with a lot more capability for future in terms of what it is measuring and providing as feedback, apart from just sensing whether the room has got someone in there or not to automatically join a meeting or to release the room from being in use. Now let's talk about AI and intelligent. Okay, this is a hot topic. Nobody can avoid this in the IT or in general across all organisations nowadays. But artificial intelligence, AI, is everywhere. And in particular, it's going to be in everything that you do that brings a productivity. So meetings are included in that. Okay. Yeah, I can. Thanks, Glenn. I will email it. It'll also be recorded, and yeah, the presentation I'm going to upload into our YouTube Academy as well. All right. So with AI, it will drive a lot of new business. So we're going to see and you can see here the head of Microsoft, they know that AI is going to be driving a lot of new business in from platforms that is going to enable the AI to be of use to everybody. I mean, it brings real productivity. And I'm going to show you some stats around the productivity about Teams in a moment as I go through these slides. But these are real gains that are starting to happen. There is so much out there about how to use Copilot, for example, with O365s in all levels, in all apps that are available, including Teams and Teams meetings and Teams rooms, right? And so I'm going to have a talk about a little bit about that and why the underlying technology and the hardware actually adds to the capability of using Copilot and transcriptions, and that translates into real productivity gains from in having meetings. So in collaboration, we do know that in hybrid work mode, about 28% of employees are still working from home or on the move or coming into the office. Right, so that's really important point in terms of that factors into that meetings are still going to, and virtual meetings are going to be a central part of everyday work life. In fact, travel expenses and travel is being reduced in a lot of companies. So the only way to actually have meaningful meetings is by having virtual meetings. And you can be at home or in the car, you can be mobile, you can be in the office from your desktop, you can be in the actual meeting room collaborating with anybody, anytime, anywhere, right? But the issue is that when you come in, do you always feel like you're a part of the meeting? Is it good quality? Can you hear everybody? Can you understand who's talking? Right? Do you actually make sense of what the content of the meeting and the purpose of the meeting is about? Or do you feel like sometimes you're just a participant and an observer? Right? So this is something that is being addressed, those underlying issues, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit more. But what we're seeing is that apart from the platform itself having capability in terms of applying Copilot for meetings, you need the hardware itself to be able to match and provide that capability. So we see AI being used in the visual side of the Meet Teams rooms, as well as in terms of the audio, and also the platform itself, Copilot being integrated into Teams meeting rooms as a productivity. And I'll talk about some of the aspects of where that comes in. On the hardware side of it, Yealink is onto its third version of AI capability. So it's built into the firmware of the devices, both the audio and the visual AI capability that makes meetings far better experience. All right, and so why do you need that? If you wind back a couple of years, it was quite static in terms of what you saw or how meetings were conducted. What you'd see is a room full of people, and you couldn't get a close up of who the faces were. You couldn't always understand or see who was speaking in the room, and therefore, quite often, the voices were muffled. The audio that was spec for those rooms was often under spec, and so you ended up with just a simple speaker mic in the middle of a boardroom, and you got a lot of echo, a lot of bouncing of voices, and reverb that happened, and muffling and distortion, which didn't make for a really good experience for people coming from the other end who often felt excluded. Then that's a bit of a problem. Also, when you're looking into a boardroom, you're looking at a sea of people and their faces, but you don't know what expressions they've got. What are they actually communicating non-verbally as part of what they're saying? And that's really important if you want the whole picture of what's being conveyed, what's being stated. Um, Rather than participating actively and being able to contribute to a meeting, you actually feel like you're just observing the meeting from afar and you're not a part of it, right? And that is something that's being addressed. The other point is that employees don't know how to use their meeting room AV. So particularly when it's BYOD. When it's BYOD, in other words, when you've brought your own camera in, you set up your own PC, you bring your own laptop, because you're trying to make a bit of a saving. The problem is then that it's a different experience every single time. How many times have you been in a meeting where the first 10, 15 minutes was spent trying to troubleshoot the technical aspects of the meeting and getting it going? Audio didn't work. You couldn't share from your laptop. You couldn't enter the meeting from your laptop. A whole range of things. The camera wasn't working properly for whatever reason. Even when you've got Teams Room certified meeting room kits that are attached to the meeting, right? Sometimes they were too complex. So the whole point is now that when you've got a single vendor that actually provides meeting room devices from very large all the way to small, you recognize the interface on the touch panel, right? It's the same experience for everybody when they go into a room. So they know what to expect and they know how to engage straight away, join and get going in the actual purpose of the meeting, not be bothered by the technology that they're trying to use. We've also got different room types, right? So wouldn't it be nice to be able to have a single point of experience in each of the rooms, whether it's a small, medium, large, or extra large multi-purpose room, going into the meeting, joining the meeting, inviting the meeting room into a meeting, and then as you're part of that meeting, the experience is going to be the same for all participants. You understand the touch panel, you understand the controls, etc. So it's one learning point. But also the AI capability of the audio and the video. It's not just for the high end, for the boardroom, for the larger rooms where a lot of investment goes into. This has now been enabled in smaller, medium to smaller sized rooms as well, and it's becoming a staple part of every room size. And we also need to ensure that all the endpoints are secure and managed. Of course, if they're MTR certified under a Teams room license, then the devices can be managed. They're going to be secure, and in terms of the management, makes it very easy for the administrator. So we're looking at ease of doing meetings for both users and also for people that have to look after those meeting rooms. AI-powered visual would include things like auto framing, speaker tracking, multi-focus framing, picture-in-picture, and telefocus, video fence, and together mode. I'm going to focus on two here, IntelliFocus and video fence. With the IntelliFocus, and I'll show you the next slide about how that looks, it brings people that are sitting around a room, a boardroom table, and slices them into their own frame. So the last 4 speakers are presented, and you get a close-up of the people's faces there from the torso. You also get a context of where they're seated with the small picture of the room embedded in there, and it gives you more sense in terms of what's being spoken about. You can see the expressions, you know what they're saying, you understand who is saying what. Yep, so it's not just a voice in a room. The video fence is needed because with AI, the camera will automatically and the audio pick up people that might be walking past the room outside. And might try to bring in people that are standing outside the room. And so we need to create both an audio and a video fence so that only what's going on inside the room is included as part of the meeting. And you tell the audio and the video aspects of the technology, that's all you need to include. So the IntelliFocus, as you can see here in a live demo that's embedded in here, is that you can see people closer, you can see their expressions, and you can probably understand them a little bit more. Right, when they're speaking, it makes sense in the context of their expressions and the tone that they're using. And you can see them up close as well, which means that it feels more included and you can understand, the participants. Why is this important? Let's just say it's a boardroom, and that boardroom team members that are coming in, say it's a board of a company, and members are coming in from home, from other locations, or from within the organisation themselves, and they're making strategic decisions about the company. Let's just say it's an accounting firm having a meeting with clients, and they're needing to make decisions, get all the information, make decisions as they go during that meeting, and get the full understanding of what is being spoken about and the context of it and who is saying what. If you're a legal firm having meetings with clients, you want to have the full understanding of what's going on, and you want to see the expression. Have they got arms folded? What are they looking like? Do they look angry? Do they look, like they're satisfied? This is all really important, and it helps towards getting to faster collaboration and the outcomes that you want straight out of a meeting. So IntelliFocus versus traditional AI features, there's a number of different ways in which traditional AI was used, such as group framing. The whole point of IntelliFocus is it removes background distractions, so you just see the focus on actual people. Traditional speaker tracking was inadequate because as one person spoke and then another person spoke, the camera would rotate from one person to another around the room, and sometimes you felt like you were a pinball trying to follow the tracking. And then in traditional multi-focus framing, it also didn't give you the context of where people were seated in that room, which actually, helps to understand a little bit better. The issue there is also in the traditional is that they couldn't move around, and IntelliFocus can actually track and move around. Even when someone's talking and they move from one seat in the room to another, all you see is the headshot of that person as they move. That's really very clever. And of course, in AI-powered audio, absolutely essential that the devices have got the ability to suppress echo and reverb. The reason why is that when I speak in a room, and the louder it is, my voice will bounce off the boardroom table, possibly a non-carpeted floor if it's a hard surface. A lot of rooms now have got glass windows or glass walls, so my voice will bounce off that as well. And what happens is that those voice signals, a multitude of them over the distance, by the time they get to the mic, whether it's in the ceiling, whether it's in the ceiling or whether it's actually at a speaker or a mic that's at the front of the room or on the table, will have echo and reverb happening. So it's really important to suppress that, and all you hear is the voice. Another reason for excellent audio quality, or as best audio quality as the customer can afford, is transcriptions. When you start to apply transcriptions, which a lot of meetings are now implementing, you want the accuracy to be as high as possible. With high transcription accuracy, you get better Copilot and outcomes, summaries of the actual meeting. You can understand who it is that was actually speaking and put a name to the voice. You can get action points created out of that meeting as well. So higher transcription requires the best quality audio that is possible. And this is even from a desktop. Get the best quality headset that you can, get the best quality in a room scenario, speakers and mics that you can, so that everything can be heard and you get accurate, as high as possible accuracy in terms of transcriptions. And then utilizing Copilot being able to understand and understand the context of what's being spoken about as well. I'll just keep going. So Copilot for Teams room meetings, it is driving productivity. It's helping to make smarter and quicker business decisions a lot faster. And Copilot can help to generate new ideas as well. And this area, in terms of meeting rooms, is becoming there's fast tracking a lot of Copilot learning so that it becomes a mediator as part of a meeting as well. It can keep you on agenda. It can come up with suggestions along the way. It can quickly summarise what's been spoken about at each point of the meeting. And that helps to facilitate the meeting. So you have a facilitator there in the form of an AI. If you can imagine the traditional way of meetings, a person had to sit in the meeting to actually generate the meeting minutes, either typing or writing them, and then had to summarise them and then send them out to each person. Transcription will capture everything that's spoken about, so you've got a record of exactly what was talked about in the meeting, and you can go back to that record at any time. As well as you can get a summary very quickly at the end of it. So ask Copilot, please summarise the main points of the meeting that we've just conducted, and then what are the action points out of that meeting, and they can be forwarded to all of the participants as well. The heaviest Copilot usage today has been people using Copilot in Teams. So when they were asked, how it impacted their daily workflow, 70% reported they're much more productive. 84% found it easier to take action after a meeting. 84%. And 79% say it reduced their administrative workload. And that's probably the point of it. It comes down to having more meetings to collaborate, to make faster decisions in the organisation without having to go back to your desk and do lots of typing and summaries and, the administrative part of it. If you've got a tool that can actually aid you in those, for better meeting outcomes, for faster meeting outcomes, which drives faster outcomes in terms of business decisions as well. But it's a coordination between hardware and also the platform as well, and the software that behind that. Here's another page. I'll leave that for now with regards to a little bit more about AI. But you can actually get onto the Microsoft website, do a search on Copilot in Teams meetings and Teams room meetings, and what the current technology is capable of doing in those meetings. Now, let's go to the devices. I'm going to just stop here before we look at some of the Yealink devices, the latest in their range. Are there any questions so far? Okay. Let me just see. Do you want to type the question in, or just seeing if I can actually find you? Okay. I think I've unmuted you, David.
No, it was all good. I was trying to look for a reaction, and I put my hand up accidentally. So no questions from myself.
Lovely. Thanks. Now, I'm just trying to mute you again. Okay, great. All right, let's move into the next part, and that is the technology itself, the hardware. So the platform itself provides you with Teams Rooms capability, the meeting itself, and the AI, the co-pilot as part of that. But the hardware needs to support it. It needs to have, at a hardware level, firmware, ability, for this technology to occur. So the audio devices have to have built-in reverberation and echo suppression and, all of that magnificent mic pickup to give you absolute voice clarity, even across accents, different people's voice tones, different loudness of the way that they speak. It's important that everybody in the room, their voice is being picked up equally. In terms of the actual visual side of it, the IntelliFocus capability is an AI that is built into the firmware level of these devices as well. And we're going to see that kind of AI. At the moment, it's called IntelliFocus. It will evolve into something else, and even better, as we go along over the next 12 months and for the next few years. But because it's firmware level, it means that these devices have got the ability to be updated with whatever the AI, the latest versions are bringing for people to be able to utilize. Yep. So the dual light camera system, these have got a couple of uh, uh, equal sized, equal capable cameras inside of them. Unlike some of the other bars where like the A30, it had an eagle eye camera, which was a static camera that could see all of the room. And then in addition to that, you had a PTZ camera that moved around. So that's something that you see in the UVC 86 cameras. And this one, two identical cameras that work together, to create and stitch together one high quality image, even at a faraway distance. So you can actually get an excellent quality image from 6 to 8 meters away. This is why this device is so great in terms of it's not just for small rooms. This is now something that you can push into a larger room. So if you've got a meeting room of 12 people, which in a lot of instances is a lot of people's, boardroom sizes, this is actually a really good device that'll fit into that space as well. It has all of these AI features available built into it, but the one that we're probably most likely to focus on is IntelliFocus, video fence, and also the auto framing. So if you want something that's really simple, auto framing, all it does is that if there's one person in the room, it will just frame that one person. But as soon as another person or two or three move into the room, they immediately get framed into the view of the camera and streamed. So that's really the AI at its very basic that's being in use. And of course, the AI-powered audio. This is next gen in terms of the audio capability. When I do demos, I prefer customers to start from virtual. So from their end, they come in, and when I'm doing the demo with the A40, even and its equivalent in the Windows, the Smart Vision 40, they can hear what the mic pickup sounds like. And from 6 meters, it's a very clear, very precise pickup of my voice. Now, from 6 meters, 7 meters, when somebody's seated in there and you've got 12 people seated in the room or multiple people, those that are closest to the meeting room bar are going to get picked up a lot quicker, a lot, because they're closer, it'll focus on them. So you can throw out some expansion mics to people that are in the other parts of or the back of the table, the back of the room, and it'll pick them up and create quality. So the expansion mics and the meeting bar mics work in conjunction with each other as an array. All right, so very, very simple, but it does mean that everybody in the room gets heard and gets the same sort of respect, in terms of their voice being picked up and conveyed down the end. And also it means your transcription is going to be equal across all members in that room as well. So here's some of the devices that can be added in there, like the expandable mics. And in terms of BYOD, this is not quite accurate. The WP30 now does not do BYOD with the A40. I should actually amend this slide for future. There's new AI ceiling pro audio solutions as well. So when you come into a meeting with me with, say, for instance, from the far end, you can hear the mics on the A40 and you can hear the mics and my voice from when I'm inside of my room using these AI speakers. And at the other end, you can actually hear what the quality sounds like and you can see what the quality of the visual on the UVC86 or the A40 camera is looking like. Makes it so much more meaningful. When you do come in for a demo into our premises, sure, you can see all of the gear live and you can see what it looks like. And, there's an experience of knowing what it's like in the room, but you don't get the experience of what it's like from far end if you're coming in from your desktop or from a meeting room from within your organisation, back to us. And so both ways is really important, coming in for a demo, but also being part of the meeting room demo from the other end. So the CM20 is a new ceiling microphone array, has got, again, a very precise pickup as well of voices, and it also has a noise cancellation, reverb, and echo suppression. Very, very important because you've got people, look, this is mounted in the ceiling, so by the time the voice travels up, it's going to collect possibly, interaction of voices and reflections that have happened from let's face it, most rooms are not exactly acoustically designed. And so all of that needs to be suppressed to the point where also we often do a demonstration during our demos where we will tap a keyboard or I'll grab my pen and I'll tap it on the table. And the other end can't hear that. They can't hear the tap because it suppresses that sound. So when people are walking past, you've got an audio fence walking past the meeting room, you won't hear them. If there's a lawnmower going outside or you're street facing and there's trucks going past, you won't hear them. And of course, the speaker itself has got exceptional clarity so that everybody in the room is not hearing distortions and they're hearing voices clearly being conveyed from the other end back into the room as well. Now, the ceiling mic and speakers are a great idea, particularly for rooms where you will use it for different types of scenarios. Maybe it's a training room one time and all of the tables are facing one way. Maybe it's a boardroom and everybody's facing each other and also the front of the screen. Or maybe you've turned it into a U-shaped training room, or maybe you've removed all of the chairs and tables and you've turned it into an events or multi-purpose room, for that. So the ceiling mics and speakers allow you to have the ability to have all of these different scenarios and great audio no matter what the scenario is. It's kind of free. It's kind of free from cumbersome, from being encumbered by the different ways in which you use a room, and also not needing to shift around stuff on the actual table. A lot of boardrooms people like to have as clean as possible without having a mic and that need to be floated out on the tables as well. So the CS10, you'll find on the Yealink website a room configurator. Please make note. Go to the room configurator. That will help you to design rooms, right? And it also comes up with suggestions in terms of the gear. And at the end of it, it will give you a wiring diagram as well as a seating diagram. Extremely helpful tool. There's also on the Yealink website under the support a audio configurator as well. Now, with the new gear that's coming out, We've got a Dante version of the CM20, and we've also got some higher end DSP and new mics and speakers that are coming out, which take the Pro Audio to the next level, in the Yealink range, which means that at the moment, you've got audio that is of a certain quality. It's functional, for the meeting rooms, right? But as soon as somebody wants to invoke some far more sophisticated speaker tracking or being able to pinpoint exactly where people are seated, and invoke the camera to go and point at them, super fast. Or you've got multifunctional rooms and you really do need almost like music hall type speakers, available in that room. You've got a big jump in terms of audio costs. As soon as you go to the third-party biamps or Shure mics and those scenarios, you're looking at $20,000, $30,000 for a boardroom. The new devices from Yealink will come in at about a third of that cost, and they're quite functional. They're high quality as well. I can't wait until we get our hands on it. They're going to be delivered, any week now, and we're going to install them and start testing them. But they will bring an added level of audio capability to meeting rooms that are affordable for a lot more people. Right? So it will make the audio experience far better. Why? Because everybody wants to know what's going on in meetings no matter where they're coming from, because you want the transcription and your co-pilot to be spot on, to enable that productivity, to enable that help, for, those fast-driven outcomes from meetings. I'm trying not to sound too much like a brochure here, but, it is how it's coming out. Okay, the other device also where we're going to see the IntelliFocus and the other capability coming into is the meeting board. Now, the reason I want to talk about this one is because the meeting board lends itself to a lot of different spaces, and it saves you time in terms of an actual install, and you can shift it around from room to room. It's got everything built into it in terms of everything that you might need. A whiteboard, it's an interactive screen. You can do UC or video conferencing with it, and you can add a whole bunch of accessories too to expand its capability in different room sizes and room types. These devices now also enable the ceiling mics and speakers to be a part of their accessory extension as well. Those meeting bars A40 and the Windows equivalent, the Smart Vision 40, now are compatible with using the ceiling mics and speakers. All right, so that's a show of those devices fitting very, very well into mid-sized rooms, mid to large-sized rooms, and there you can put your mics and speakers in up, in the ceiling. So with the meeting board, most people are familiar with it, but it really does cut down in terms of the number of cables and the number of devices that you need in an actual room. It's the all-in-one device that makes it much cleaner for a lot of rooms that people use, with different types of requirements. So these ones come in two sizes, a 65-inch and an 86-inch. They can come with a stand, or you can wall mount them. You can wall mount two side by side. And if you don't want to get up and use the interactive board where you enter and join, where you go in and have to change room controls, or you want to do something there, you can also have the little touch panel out on the desktop as well for the larger sized rooms. So very, very versatile in terms of how they can be used, and they have a fairly low footprint in the way you implement them, because they are all-in-one devices. But you can actually expand them. They've got a full ecosystem. So starting from the bottom, the OPS module, now there's an OPS-T, which is Teams Room. So the new OPS module enables you to install Teams app on there, so fully certified Teams app onto the OPS-T, and therefore you've got a device that, let's just say in Android mode, it's a Zoom device, but then click of a button, touch a screen, and it converts over to the OPS-T, and there's your Teams room, or vice versa. If you use the OPS module and load in Zoom, you can have the Android native meeting board as your Teams device, but then you flick it over to a Windows box, there's your Zoom app, and you can go into a Zoom room meeting. Of course, you can add a lot of the other devices, a touch console, expandable mics, and also a PTZ camera for when you want greater depth in the room for pickup, and for AI capability. The other thing is that you can add a third-party camera. So the UVC86 can be mounted and point back down onto the board where you want to do, say, a training session and you've got a speaker that is writing on the board as a whiteboard, or might be presenting. Right, so that third-party mic or speaker can be pointing back down onto the presenter, or you can use that other camera to show or focus in specifically on things that you might be wanting to demonstrate, etc. So very versatile from that perspective. Okay, now I'm going to finish up here. Just got a few minutes left, and I'll just delve into the last part about Leader. But are there any questions so far? So we've spoken about the all-in-one meeting bar, the A40. There is an equivalent to that, which is in the Windows version, the Smart Vision 40. Later this year, early next year, we're going to have the A60 released, which is the mid to larger sized room, replacing the A30. So that'll be covered off with a new device. We've got new pro audio gear that is coming out in the audio space to enhance meeting room capability even further for different size spaces. And the capability of the current devices like the meeting board, like the MVCs, for example, will all get updates which will enable them to be able to support the later AI 3.0 capability. Any questions? David, are you tricking me or you really got a question?
No, I'm legit this time. So where's your display centers for all this technology? Because obviously, yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot of different products and options, but where is it all on display for us as service providers to come in and sort of, get the demo and play with, etc.?
Great question, and that's actually on another couple of slides, but wherever there is a Leader warehouse or a Leader office. So we have an experience centre with every bit of gear in Perth, Melbourne, Adelaide, Sydney, and in Brisbane. So where are you,
Okay.
David?
Melbourne.
Okay, so we're in Clayton South and Melbourne.
Yeah, okay. So do we need to book time with our account manager and just come out, that sort of thing, to walk through it all?
Yeah, preferably, because we've got a lot of bookings and also events and whatnot that utilises these spaces as well. But yeah, there is a booking link, and you can help to book yourself, so date and a time for what that is available that suits you. Yeah, contact your account manager,
Sure.
and he can help to set that up for you. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right. Leader and Yealink, to put it in perspective. So Leader's been a distributor for Yealink for over 10 years. I actually came from a company called Alloy, and we were Yealink's first distributor globally. And we have from way back in the late 2000s. So we were acquired by Leader in 2023, and half the staff sort of came over. Quite a few of the administrative staff didn't come, but we had our pre-sales, our tech support, a lot of those guys came over. So the knowledge and the products and our capability now has kind of enhanced what was already at Leader. And so we've integrated people that have got long, deep experience. So, for instance, our pre-sales national manager is Remo, and he's got 10 years experience with Yealink gear. Adam has got, he's mostly on the UC side of things, and he's got over 12 years experience, working with Yealink products as well, and is a contributor, towards, the technical side of things. Myself, I've been with the company for 15 years at Alloy, then now Leader. So I've been working with the Yealink products for that long as well, and understand the UC space, which now is the VC space for me, and understand Yealink and where it sits in terms of its competition. So a lot of in-house expertise. We've also invested a lot of into a lot of gear and a lot of experience centres. So we've got multi-camera system here in Melbourne. We've got all of the audio already set up, ceiling mics and speakers. We've got the A40, the Smart Vision 40. Pretty much one of everything, is set up for any different scenario, and we can talk about that. We don't just kind of talk about the technology, but we talk about why the technology has been designed the way it's been designed. Our team also can help to talk to you about room design and scoping of opportunities. So we can do a deal reg, and we can help you to scope and do a proper fit of the gear for the actual room requirement. And if you don't yourselves do installations, we can connect you to one of our trusted installation partners to assist on that front. They can go in and do room assessments. They can, scope up and work out how much it's going to cost, specific gear and the requirements of a customer's rooms. Okay. So from our professional services, which you may or may not, or whatever extent you might, we've got customers that, that do everything. They do the pre-sales, they do the solution design, etc. They just come to us to buy the hardware. What we do for them, however, is that we do provision and pre-stage the gear so that when it goes out on site, to fit a particular window and where the installer is, there's no time wasted waiting for, a 2 or 3 hour Windows update, for example. So that's all ready. We've already tested it to make sure that it's not dead on arrival. That's an installer's nightmare. And we've also then got free partner technical support afterwards. And believe me, with the pace of the gear being developed and how quickly Yealink is bringing to market new product, quality product, we are having to, deep dive and really keep abreast of the deeper aspects of everything technical. And we don't expect our partners always to be able to keep up with the latest and greatest. And sometimes you do come across, why is this not working? Why is that not working? And you can plug into our team to be able to help address or, to help you diagnose and find faults and resolve those issues, quite quickly. Of course, all of the gear in the Yealink range is 2-year advanced replacement warranty. It can be extended out to 5 years as well. But also we've got a comprehensive training options. On the training side of it, I prefer to call them adoption, where we actually create we ring the customer, we find out exactly what they want from a user and an administrator's training perspective. We have packages where we can go out on site for an hour, up to an hour, whatever it requires, or we do it remote. Once we've done that training, we provide all of the user guides. Quite often we'll modify them to be specific for the user's requirements. We have a 1-month phone service where they can call in and we can answer questions, or they've forgotten how to do something, or they don't understand why this isn't working. And then at the end of the month, we get them all on to a Ask Us Anything webinar session. It's a wrap-up session, and they just bring everything that they found frustrating, or they don't understand why it's not working, or anything that they've forgotten, and we just kind of close it off for them, answer everything and close it off for them. And we find that adoption after that, in terms of usage, escalates. So instead of just, rooms and the gear in the room being used 30% of the time, we find that they're being used, 80, 90% of the time. And we've got satisfied customers that kind of are confident in what they're doing, what they're using, and also their administrators knowing how to keep the, upkeep and maintain that gear and, drive the firmware updates and all that sort of stuff. So that's really important. It will save you time in terms of help desk and tech support after you've installed it. By providing that nurture for 1 month, making sure that they've adopted the gear correctly, it dramatically reduces the amount of help desk calls that we get after that. All right, so you can book with Leader for an interactive workshop. So our spaces are available for you to come in. You can bring your customer in, or you can come in to set a time to learn about the gear. You can also have events here if you want to bring more than one customer, where we've done that as well. In WA, we hosted a resellers, monthly meeting with a couple of their key customers and showcased, some of the technologies that we had in the rooms there as well. And some useful resources that I want to bring your attention. So, of course, if you're not already, please do go to partner.yealink.com and register. You'll get updates. You'll be able to access the partner page to be able to do deal registrations, which is really important. And I always recommend that with your customers, please do a deal reg, okay, so that we can work with you and protect you if we need to with regards to, pricing. It also gives you single login to the support at Yealink, where you can see the room configurator and also the audio configurator, plus everything else in terms of guides, installation guides, everything to do with how to configure in the Teams tenant, troubleshoot as well from that perspective, network conditions to consider. So really just about everything that you can find in there, as well as getting certified. So Yealink have got what they call CMSE. So get in there, you can create a My Academy account, and then you kind of tag the courses that you want. It puts it in there and gives you a time frame in which you can self-learn through the materials and then do an exam and then get a badge so that you're certified, in, the various products that they have. The Pro Audio gear that's coming out will only be sold to customers, to partners that actually have done the Pro Audio certification, which is going to be released in about 2 or 3 weeks' time in conjunction with when the gear starts to become available. So just bear in mind that the Pro Audio, if you want to be able to sell it, because there's DSPs and you really have to understand how to configure audio correctly, to avoid those traps with the high-end audio gear, you're going to have to be certified on how to use it, which includes the configuration, the maintenance, the best fit or the best practice, audio installation. Excuse me. And of course, I've got a link down here at the bottom, which is the Microsoft Community Hub. And that's a get more out of hybrid meetings with Teams, Rooms, and Copilot. And it's got pages full of stuff in terms of how Copilot and transcription is benefiting in Teams. But this is a discussion. This is why I've integrated it into this presentation. It's awareness for you to know what some of the driving factors are, with customers, when it comes to their rooms and their rooms, the capability of their rooms. Meeting rooms are not just about, okay, we don't want to pay for travel and this is a better way, for us to be able to have meetings. It is stepping it up to have better meeting experiences, collaboration that, and the reason and the purpose of that meeting to happen, effectively, whilst the meeting's happening, focused on the content and the purpose, everybody participating and everybody coming out of there with decisions having been made, resolutions, strategies, and the summary of those meetings, you can move on, to the next steps, right? Whether they're doing it now or not, they need gear that's going to be able to support that, because 12 months' time, everybody's going to be using AI as part of their meetings. That the uptake of it, if they're using Office 365 now and they're using Teams on a regular basis, right, and then they're starting to have meetings from their desktop, they'll be using transcription and recording. They'll be using Copilot to do summaries, and they'll want that feature as part of their meeting rooms as well. And they won't want to look back. Once you start using that stuff, you realize just the benefits of it. I mean, as I showed you on that previous, slide, 79% productivity increases. I mean, who doesn't want that? We all do. So now the technology now is available. When they're ready to start having those kinds of, capable rooms, meetings, then it's already there waiting for them to start using it over the next, 12 months. And within 12 months, pretty much everybody's going to be using it. Okay, thank you very much. Any questions in there? I hope I didn't bore you too much. You can contact me if you want to. I'll just put it into the chat. I can also connect you to any of our pre-sales folks as well. Or, if you want to set up a demo time or discuss any opportunities that you might have, we're available. So please get in contact with me. Anyway, I hope you've had an enjoyable session today. The recording will be available and it'll be uploaded into the Leader Academy on YouTube within the next 24 hours. The PowerPoint presentation I can also send out to each of you as well, for the deeper content that's a part of those. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day. Here we go. Got some questions. Yep. There's no minimum dollar value for Yealink Deal Reg. It can be 1 room, can be 20 rooms. Pro audio gear, yes, we do. There was, that's now being made widely distributed by Yealink themselves. They're starting to roll out a number of Q4 updates on the Pro audio gear. And I'll give you a link to a presentation that was done by Mervyn Huang, who is at Yealink USA. He has done some great presentations on the latest in that area as well. But we'll end up hearing more and more about that gear, particularly when it officially launches. When the pricing, starts to become available, but also the certification courses. Yep, all the Android AI features are available on the Android bar, the A40, the IntelliFocus, more or less. So are the AI features available only on Windows or on Android? On both, right? It's both on the Windows separated, UVC 86 camera and audio devices, as well as the all-in-one bars, as well as the Android devices as well. But AI IntelliFocus is available on the Smart Vision 40, the S90 devices, and also the A40, and it will be rolled out into the other devices, at some point in time, backward compatible to the other devices as well. Other AI features are still in those devices. So auto framing, speaker tracking, presenter tracking, the multi-focus framing, they are available in those ones. Copilot transcription is something that is part of your O365 and your Teams room. So to enable Copilot transcription, that is, okay, that's a complex answer. Audio devices at the moment that have got it built in or built-in transcription capability, yeah, detection of user voices. Thank you, Jason. Yes, so that's complex. At the moment where it sits is that hosting organisations can create a voice profile of users within their organisation, but you can't identify people outside of the organisation unless you've sent them a specific invite. Let's just say to John Smith, who then comes in on his desktop and is identified as John Smith, and therefore the transcript can transcript his voice with his name against it. But if he's in a room, he comes in and he's part of a room meeting, he won't be identified. Okay, more questions. So this is all part of the subscription, not reliant on the device. Yes, that's correct. Now, dedicated audio is going to be opened up and enabled by Microsoft as well for the capability of Copilot use. They're not too far away. But yeah, it's in your, look, the Copilot licensing and what it's attached to seems to be changing along the way. I think that it is part of an O365 and you need to have a look at user level. And I think there will be licensing associated with particular rooms as well. I'm not 100% on it. Now, can I just mention that on the good questions, 22nd of November, actually, I'm going to send you a registration. We've got Teams Room training happening. It's called Teams Room Foundations. It's going to be conducted by Microsoft. Part 1 hour, is sales and marketing. So it's all about the market and all about the size of, the Teams Room market and the technology. The second part is a technical pre-sales and design section. It's about the Teams Room tenant, the licensing, and all of the things that are available, that is part of meeting rooms, Teams meetings and meeting rooms. I recommend that. So you've got the hardware that I've spoken about today. We really want people to be understanding of the licensing and Teams Room, the tenant, and how to set it up properly on that side of it as well. So I'll send you all a link so that you can register for that one. It's well worth it. That will lead you into further training around Teams Room capability next year for a course called Teams Room Fundamentals, which then leads on to Teams Room Masterclass. Right, so in addition to the hardware, if you're doing the hardware and selling that and implementing it for customers, is the Microsoft, tenant and the Microsoft licensing, the Microsoft setup side of it as well. Any further questions? Excellent. Well, thank you very much, everybody. We'll close it up there and I'll send all that information out to you as well.